Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my July TBR. Alright guys, it is officially the first day of summer break when I am filming this, and I am just so excited that it is finally summer. I finally have a few weeks off work, and I can read and relax and just focus on making content, and I'm in such a good mood, so I am very excited to talk about these books with you guys. I will say, this is quite an ambitious TBR. There are so many books that I've been wanting to get to that I haven't read yet, so will I get to all the books on this video? Probably not, but I am going to do my best. Now, there are some very exciting readathons happening in July. We have the Swashbuckling Readathon. We also are coming close to the end of the Throne of Glass read-along. Also, my Patreon book club pick. I am so excited about this month's Patreon pick. I loved last month's pick, When the Moon Hatched, and I'm hoping this next one is just as good. So anyway, I'm excited to talk about these books with you guys. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about all the books I want to read in July. So starting off with the Swashbuckling Readathon. So this is a readathon that is taking place between July 5th and July 12th. So it is only a week long, so it's not a huge commitment, but still it should be really fun. It was put together by Hannah Blackwell, and then myself, along with Tiffany from Tiff Talks Pages, and then April from Happily Ever April, and B from Mama Needs to Read Romance will all be co-hosts. So we'll be having a lot of live shows. There's 5 different prompts, but essentially all you have to do is read as many books featuring pirates as possible, also books set on the water, books with a lot of action. I'm pretty sure one of the prompts is just read a book that features a romance, and then one of them is either eat a pirate snack. So you can have a lot of fun with it. We're going to be doing live shows. All the templates are available on my Instagram, so make sure you're following me on Instagram if you haven't followed me over there yet. But yeah, it should be a really good time, so I'm so excited. I will say one of the books that I plan on reading during that readathon is my Patreon book club pick, so I'm going to talk about that when I get to that section. But another book I really want to read is Katie Roberts' Pirate series. So I believe the first book is Hunt on Dark Waters, and the second book actually just came out. It's Blood on the Tides or something like that. But anyway, I pre-ordered the second book, not realizing that there's another book in the series. So I just downloaded the first book. There is an audiobook available. I don't believe there is one for the second book yet. But the first book is following a witch who ends up breaking up with her vampire boyfriend, and I believe she steals something of his, and then she ends up on this pirate ship, and it's her romance with a grumpy pirate. But Katie Robert, I have to be in the mood for Katie Roberts' writing, but when I am, her spicy scenes, they just hit different. She's so good at writing just spice and angst and just really fun, easy reads. So that is one I will definitely be reading during the Swashbuckling Readathon, and I really, really hope you guys can join us. And next up is my Patreon book club pick for July. So if you're unfamiliar with my Patreon book club, every month we vote between 3 different fantasy romance books, and then we kind of have a buddy read on Discord, and then a live show where we all can join and discuss the book. Now, if you're camera shy, don't worry, you can still participate in the comments. However, we just did this format, the book club format, for When the Moon Hatched, and I loved seeing all your faces and just like actually talking to you guys, so that will definitely be the format moving forward. But overall, I was really happy. You guys seemed to really like all 3 books. I mean, they all got a decent amount of votes. So the options were Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm, Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller, and then the last one was A Ship Abodes the Teeth by Karina Halle. And Whispers of the Deep just ended up winning, so that is the book we will be reading. Now, I will be reading Whispers of the Deep as part of the Swashbuckling Readathon. So it is more of a, I guess, monster fantasy romance. We're following this girl that lives in this underwater city, but there are already these, like, mer people that are living there, and they don't want these humans going into their territory. And then I think there's a romance between one of the mer people and one of the women that live in this city. So it sounds really good. I'm really kind of bummed because I met Emma Hamm at a Polygon, and I should have bought a copy of the book when I had a chance, and I didn't. But either way, I'm very excited. So the audiobook for this is actually going to release, I think, on June 25th. I know it's releasing the same week I'm filming this, so if you want the audiobook, it will be available for that readathon. And yeah, I am just so excited to pick it up. and we are coming to the end of the Throne of Glass read-along, so I'm actually going to be posting a poll to see what fantasy romance series you guys want to read for our next read-along, but I've really enjoyed this Throne of Glass read-along. However, when I was setting up this read-along, I knew that this book was going to be such a struggle because the first time I read it, I anger read this book. And that is Tower of Dawn, and the reason being, I am not a Chaol fan. I actually despise him as a character. He is one of my most hated characters that SJM has ever written. So, an entire book devoted to Chaol is my worst nightmare, and I gotta say, I didn't like this the first time I read it, and unfortunately, the way I set up this readathon is I really can't tandem read this and Kingdom of Ash because then we're gonna miss a live show. So I have to read this by itself. Wish me luck, guys. I know there are so many people out there that love Chaol, and I'm really happy for you guys. I don't mean any sort of disrespect. I don't want to yuck on your yum. I just personally, I'm not a Chaol fan. But if you're unfamiliar with Throne of Glass, just in general, we're following Celaena Sardathian. She's an assassin. She ends up being captured, and then she ends up being released and is forced to compete in these assassin gladiator type games where the only survivor will end up working for the king and be the king's personal assassin. But then there are mysteries that Celaena has to uncover, and there's so many amazing characters, and it's just such an amazing series. So if you haven't read the series yet, please pick it up. I feel like I've been saying it all year, and I have had a few people say they finally picked up this series and are really enjoying it. Overall, one of my favorite series SJM has ever written, so I am very excited to get through this so I can pick up Kingdom of Ash. And keeping with the summer vibes, next up is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halle. I have talked about this book in so many videos, which is really funny because I have yet to read it. However, the audiobook for this is going to be releasing on July 16th, I believe. So I think there's a video where I say this is releasing at the end of the Swashbuckling Readathon. Unfortunately, it's actually releasing after, so I can't listen to the audio for the readathon. However, I will definitely be listening to this book in July because I read the first half of this book physically and I was really enjoying it. I just feel like I'll enjoy the audiobook so much more. It has all of those Little Mermaid vibes. If you're unfamiliar with the story, we are following this siren who ends up falling in love with this human from afar, makes a deal with a witch, ends up losing her tongue in exchange for legs. However, the twist with this is when she actually finally marries Prince Eric, she finds out that he is totally abusive and a horrible person and regrets her decision immediately. So then we fast forward and she is on a ship with her horrible husband and it ends up being taken over by pirates and the story goes from there. So if you want to read this physically, it would be perfect for the Swashbuckling Readathon. However, like I said, I'm going to be waiting for the audio, but I've been wanting to read this book since it released over a year ago, so I'm finally going to get to it in July. And next up is a YA fantasy romance that I know was really popular earlier this year, but I never ended up picking it up, and that is going to change this month. It is Powerless. So I believe either the sequel or the third book in the series releases in July, so I feel like it is the perfect time to finally get to this book. There is an audiobook available. All I knew about this is we are following a girl that lives in this world where if you are considered powerless, you're almost seen as like a criminal and you're hunted in this society. So there are people that are powerless that are actually pretending to possess powers. And our main character is one of these people. She is pretending to be a psychic, and this is all going fine until she ends up saving this prince, and that forces her to compete in these trials with other very powerful individuals, and she is going to have to survive without any powers. And it goes from there. So like I said, I've seen a lot of other content creators talking about how much they love this series. I have been I'm not loving YA as much recently, but I feel like there are a lot of tropes in this that I really enjoy, so I think I might really end up liking it. So this is another book I plan on picking up in July. And next up, we have Into Their Woods, and this is a dark, wide shoes, Little Red Riding Hood reimagining. I'm not positive it's wide shoes. I'm pretty sure it is, though. And this is by Ivy Asher. So I read Order of Scorpions by Ivy Asher, which is such an underrated, dark, wide shoes fantasy romance. Highly recommend if you have not read it yet. So I feel like I'll probably end up really enjoying this. Also, I feel like shifters, I have so many shifter books on my TBR that I need to get to. And I don't know, I just feel like I'll probably end up really enjoying this. The cover is also completely stunning, and the audiobook was on sale. So I'm trying to start reading some of the books that I want to recommend when we get to the fall season, so I figured I would sneak this one in there. But it should be a fun time. All I know is we're following this girl who's in a red cloak. She ends up being bitten by a couple guys that say she is a shifter, and now they're chasing her, and I believe they want her to be their mate. So I love all of that, so I think I will end up really enjoying it, and this is a book I'll probably read towards the end of July. And next up, we have Lunamare, and this is by Pepper Winters. So I actually talked about this book in my most recent book haul, and I am very curious about this one. So I've read other books by this author, and they have been very, very dark. However, this seems to be more of a forbidden romance, coming of age, and super, super emotional. So I really want to give this a try, and also this cover just, it seems perfect to read during the summer. I mean, look at the seahorse and pages. But I believe this is following a girl, and she ends up finding this boy and saving him from drowning, and then her family ends up taking him in. However, the father's one rule is, you need to stay away from my daughter. And I guess there's a romance that kind of blossoms between the two of them. So this is the first book in a duet. I don't know if I'm going to read both books this month. However, I definitely want to read this first book. So let me know if you've read this book, if it seems like something I would like. It's been a while since I read a really emotional, hard-hitting book, so I would really like to cry. So if this book is going to do that, I think it'll be a 5-star read. But this is one of the books I am most looking forward to reading in July. And this next book is a dark romance that honestly I don't know very much about. I'm kind of going in blind. However, I did read the Amazon synopsis and it sounds really good, and I recently picked up the audiobook. So it is The Fabric of Souls. I believe this is taking place at a mental hospital. We're following this girl that her brother ends up having her committed. So she wakes up in this like very unorthodox, creepy mental hospital, and she has a roommate who is this guy who also has a very interesting sense of humor, and they are immediately drawn to each other, and it is their romance. But this cover just really, I don't know, it just captured my attention. I saw it and I added it to my wish list, and it just sounds really good. It's also a really short read. So the only other book I've read that kind of sounds like this was the Stay With Me series, but I think this is like a darker type version. So anyway, another book I will be reading in July. And next up is the first two books in the Beauty in Lies Dark Mafia Romance by Adelaide Forrest. So this is a bind-up of the first two books. I believe the first one is Until Tomorrow Comes. I'm not sure what the second book is, but this is from the Mystic Box. It's another book I talked about in my most recent book haul that I'll leave in the cards and in the description. But I love dark mafia romance, and this is another one that is set in Ibiza, which I recently read When She Unravels, and that was the first time I ever read a mafia romance set there. So I'm very excited. This should be good. Now, I do have the other bind-up of the other two books. I, once again, don't think I'm going to be getting to the entire series in July, but these first two, I know the first book ends on a cliffhanger, so I'll probably finish this first book. It's also pretty short for a bind-up, but I believe this is following a girl that ends up being, I don't know if she's kidnapped or put into a arranged marriage with this guy who's very intense and has a very big attraction to her, and he says he needs to break her, and it goes from there. Probably is going to have all of those similar like dark mafia romance tropes, but I'm excited. I haven't read anything by Adelaide Forrest as Adelaide Forrest. I've read a few books by Harper L. Woods, which is her pen name for fantasy romance, but this should be really good. So this is a book I probably will read sooner rather than later, and I'm very excited about it. All right, guys, those are all the books I plan on reading in July. Please let me know down in the comments below, what book are you most looking forward to reading this month? Also, will you be participating in the Swashbuckling Read-along? I will leave all the information for that read-along down in the description below. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Erin, Leslie, and Kat. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.